Day 3, Sales Managers High Performance Boot Camp. Welcome, 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 welcome. Welcome. This is going to be a good crowd today. Are you guys excited because we're in day 3 and it's the best day yet, or are you excited because you're going home? Yes. Both. Dave Riva, where is Dave? Dave, you want to, right here. Dave just reminded me, for all you folks that have the unpleasant or pleasurable opportunity to fly north in the snow, he's got some lists available. If you're looking for a gig here in Orlando where you can stay in Florida. Just all right. Maybe I'll just get this out of the way before we go. Little housekeeping. Look, you guys have been incredible and humbled me with your comments. We put a lot of work into this, but we know we don't do everything correct. Correctly? Correct, right? So if you would please, make sure you at least put some jots on here. We do take these seriously. We do make changes. And when you come back and bring 4 other people with you in 2018, we want to make sure we're doing everything right. We want to make sure that you're getting the absolute value. So if I don't get a chance on behalf of the team to say thank you today, thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. It's been an absolute pleasure catching up with friends, getting to know some of our clients a little deeper, and getting to know a lot of you that I met for the first time. So thank you. You know what? Today is Groundhog's Day. Groundhog Day. Groundhog? Groundhogs. And at the Hannon household, true story, with the 3 kids, we celebrate Groundhog Day. So tonight when I get back home, there'll be some kind of meat concoction that my wife Bridget has made, and she'll call it Groundhog. And then all the kids will dig in and laugh about it. And then we watch the movie, right? Groundhog Day. Well, I had a whole bit. You know, the groundhog saw his shadow, 12 more weeks of revenue, ha, ha, ha. But I decided to not do the bit because of the news, and some of you have already walked up today. And, well, I want to set the stage for the folks who didn't know about this. A week ago, right? Storms everywhere. Some of you were in the middle of the snow, were you not? Right? While it was cold there, it was hot in a lot of boardrooms. You familiar with this story? $4.6 billion. Perry Sook's got a giant fat wallet, and are there Nexstar folks in here? Well, don't shoot the messenger. We're all Nexstar folks this morning. Well, you guys think I'm making that up? That's from the truth. They gave you a USA Today outside your door. They didn't give you a Tampa Tribune. That was today, right there. Perry Sook. I'm just the messenger. Gosh, can I get a good list? All right. Look, I have not enough time to present time management tips for leaders this morning. About a half hour of time management tips, but I was having a conversation. Let's see, you've been in business how many years? 39. 39 years. Can anyone beat 39 years in the business? 41. How long? Cindy, that's impossible. You're 32. See, guys, I didn't do that for you. Mark, can you come on up for a second? Mark and I were having this conversation about the good old days. The good old days. And I want to take you back. I want to set the stage here, and I want us to remember the good old days. So my friend here, Mark, gosh, we've known each other a long, long time.
Yeah, we have.
Now he's the CEO of the Missouri State Broadcasters Association. Right?
Mm-hmm.
You guys upset him so much he had to get a different job. Move from broadcasting. Mark, let's just close our eyes and let's think about this for a second. My goodness, way back when there were what, 3 stations in a market?
Yep.
3 stations. Yep. Yeah, and you had like 6 commercials, but 19 people lined up to buy them, right?
That's right.
It was your rate.
That's right.
Tell me about the fax machines then.
Well, there weren't any fax machines. There were Twix machines. and I was thinking about this where you asked me to say something today. I started my sales career in radio. And I was in a combo situation that had AM, FM, TV. And the conference room for the sales meetings was, we had to go past the TV offices of all the sales people. They had individual offices. And every morning we walked by, they were always in their offices, at their desks, on the phone, or at the Twix machine down the hall in the corner. These guys, it was a big legacy CBS station, they never left the office.
They didn't leave the office until 10 o'clock when it was time to get the pre-drink for lunch.
That's right. Or play golf in the afternoon.
Because they work 20 hours a week, right? Mm-hmm. You could sit at your desk and smoke away, smoke in the conference rooms. You had all the time in the world. Is that accurate?
That's right. Absolutely.
But today, as you travel and you see your stations in Missouri, what do they have? They have 2, 3, 4 stations?
That's right. That's
and,
right.
And but as you started with radio, is digital important?
Absolutely. It's a necessity. You're required to do it. It's a requirement.
A lot of time?
It's a job. It does. It takes a great deal of time.
And can anyone relate to this? Thank you. Thank you,
You bet.
Mark. Thank you. Mark, everybody. Yeah. I got news for you. The good old days aren't coming back. We're in duopoly, triopoly, quad situations. Some places, they have radio, newspaper, and TV all in the same building. Dayton, Ohio, at the Cox facility, radio, newspaper, TV, and like 24 different internet properties all in the same building. 600 and some employees. But they didn't add a heck of a lot to the management team. They tripled the workforce, but they only add 2 or 3 more managers. How many of you have 2 or 3 different staffs under you? Multiple stations, multiple digital. So the most important thing you can do is what? Time management, right? We don't have time to make time. I promise you by the end of our discussion this morning, in the next half hour, you're going to find out how to make time for yourself. I promise you that. But I can also promise you this. While you find out, if you don't put it into plan, you don't put the execution on it when you get back to your markets, you aren't going to have time. Okay? This is something that you have to study. This is something you got to work at. It doesn't happen overnight. It doesn't happen without concentrating on it. I've been working at it for, my goodness, 35 years. And I really didn't get a handle on it until about 2 years ago when I had a wake-up call listening to a teleseminar that we had through our Leader's Edge program, which is our management program for managers, which 40 of the folks in this room are not signed up for. $49.99 a month. Big discounts. But we have these teleseminars about quarterly, and a gentleman by the name of Rory Vaden was on the call with Jim. Rory, if you know anything about Rory, you've likely heard his name because he's all over the place. He's the consummate self-discipline coach. He's the thought leader in that category. He's the king of telling you how you shouldn't procrastinate, why you're procrastinating, and how to enhance your productivity. So even though I'm standing here before you, I have to go to experts. So I've got a lot of research to show you today on the things that I've assimilated to help my time management. And hopefully you'll be able to take away from that. Rory wrote the book, Take the Stairs. #1 bestseller. And there was an audio excerpt here that I want to play for you that really kind of turned a trigger in my head because I'm always looking for somebody to blame because I don't have enough time. Corporate wants these reports, these AEs, my gosh, they are needy, right? If my wife would stop calling and saying, what time you coming home, there wouldn't be disappointment in my marriage because I wouldn't have to be home at a certain time. I heard this piece and I thought, wow, I've been looking at it wrong.
If somebody listening to this call says, I could never find time for an hour a day to make new outbound, brand new client cold calls, you would point them to the top of the funnel and say, how do you do the things eliminating and delegating that might free up that hour for you?
If somebody said I don't have an hour a day, I would say you're lying, you're wrong, and you have a victim mentality that you need to just get rid of. You are not too busy. Like, you have to get over the indulgent self-talk, and I'm telling you because I've had to go through this myself. I do it on a regular basis. Like, I struggle with this as much as anybody, and that's why I care about this topic. But you are not too busy. If you are too busy, then you're just a victim because you're going, you know what, I have no control over this. There's just so many things that I need to do. There's no hope for me. I'm just too busy. The reality is that you are choosing on what you fit in and what you don't. You are crossing insignificant things off your list. You are overcommitting because of your ability to say no. So the truth is that your situation is your fault. And so you first need to own your problem, and then once you own the idea that, hey, you are in charge, you are capable, you're powerful enough to decide what you will and won't do, it's like you can't be too busy to make an hour of prospecting calls a day if you're a sales rep. That's your entire job. That's your whole focus. That's what puts money in your pocket. That's what makes you, that's the whole purpose of your existence. To say that you're too busy for that it's again, it comes down to I guess I can't say an incorrect thinking. I would say it comes down to a self-defeating pattern of thinking. So that's what I would say to that, part of that is you just got to get over the idea that that's not true. You have the same amount of time in a day as Martin Luther King Jr. You have the same amount of time as Gandhi or Mother Teresa or Michael Jordan. We all have the same amount of time, and that's why you can't manage time. You can only manage your.
If you have no time, whose fault is it? Your own. Whoa! And all these years I was blaming everyone else for getting on my schedule. Right? I love this statement. This was the eye-opener. You can read as well as I can. It's that self-defeating pattern we get into. How is Michael Jordan so great? He's got 24 hours in a day. Why am I not as good at basketball as Michael Jordan? It just wasn't, basketball's not a priority. I'm not going to practice every day like he did. It was a priority. It was on his schedule. He wanted to get better. The same 24 hours as everybody else. Stephen Covey says to us, the key is not to prioritize what's on your schedule, but to schedule your priorities. So I'd like for you to just think for a second. And I'm not going to ask for these, but just think about it. What is your number one priority? Number one. Some of you are probably having a difficult time. You're thinking, I can't think of one thing, John. There's so many priorities. So many. At some point, we went from a priority to a plural priorities. We put an S on the end of that. As we went from single station operations, as we rolled into multiple responsibilities and multiple budgets and multiple hats and more people, priority became priorities. Well, let me tell you in Jason Jennings' book, The High-Speed Company, here's what he discovered in his research. Average performing companies have 372 priorities. 372 average companies. Now watch what happens with the power of concentration. Above average performing companies have 21 priorities. 17 times less than the average performing. Angela on the panel Angela Battasso from Tribune was so nice to share with us that less is more. I don't want to see a bunch of stuff. Let's just concentrate on a couple of things. See, she understands that you can achieve a lot more by doing a whole lot less, as do the average or above average performing companies. Let's concentrate on what counts, not worry about the minutia. Doesn't even get on the schedule, and we're going to be much, much, much more powerful. Okay? Peter Drucker tells us, you want to be an effective manager? First things first, don't even worry about the seconds. It's that simple. All right. That's all well and good, John. That's great. You tell us about the priorities, but I still got these 99 priorities bouncing around my brain. Tell me how to get into what the priorities are important. I'm here to serve. Here we go. Ready? Question one. You must ask yourself, what's critical? What is absolutely paramount to my existence in this business? What is critical? If this doesn't happen, I'm dead. Let me throw you a bone on the first question. It better have some form of growth in your answer. Remember, we've already established over 2 days, this is not a flat business. Your job security is growth. And hopefully it's growth through new business development on the teams that you've built, right? Growth, number one priority for every business. And as a manager, if you would ask that question of everyone around the table in a conference room, they had better say something similar to growth. If they don't, you got an issue. You got to fix it. Question number 2. What's game changing? What is game changing? Right? We've got growth. What's game changing? What is going to allow you to achieve your desired growth? Not only your desired growth, but the growth that you absolutely need in order to survive in this business. Is it a readjustment of focus? Is it a staff shakeup? Are we zero balancing and starting from scratch? Sometimes we need it, right? What's game changing? And lastly, to zero down your priorities, very simply, what will generate massive, gargantuan results never before seen? Never in the history of your work or operation have you had these results, right? What are those things? What are the whales? What is absolutely necessary to make this happen? And can I be honest with you? It's not going to be on the backs of $1,500 contracts. Your folks are out there that have been there 5 and 6 or longer. They're selling the same contracts year after year after year. You come to the end of the year, if it's a $50,000 contract that I had the year previous, oh my goodness, I'm going to go in and sell another $50,000 contract, and they're on the defensive, not the offensive. I think we all recognize, so that fear of loss, they don't lose the contract, they're throwing in $70,000 worth of stuff so the client doesn't go away. Jim mentioned Jim Stews in our company. Jim's the gentleman who told us about Sally's, same as last year. We don't celebrate Sally's. We do not celebrate same as last year. That's not growth. You aren't going to get big results by thinking the same way you've been thinking with $1,500 contracts. All right. This book was pretty transformational for our operation at Jim Doyle and Associates in my struggle to get organization and to make sure that we're available to serve your needs. We had some work to do. So I really just want to share with you the very basics of this particular book called The 12-Week Year. And no, it's not you only have to work 12 weeks a year. Here's how it looks. Most companies plan their goals and plans on an annual basis, do they not? So I want you to break down your calendar in terms of 4 years. 4 years, 4 12-week sessions, right? So in 2016, this becomes year 1, year 2, year 3, year 4. The circle is week 13. Week 13 is your assessment and reboot. So we have 12 weeks. Week 13, we're going to look back. Did we accomplish what we said we were going to do in the first year? What are we digging into our second year? So you take that annual planning, you take those annual goals that you would normally do on a regular calendar, and you lay them out. Then you begin to set your actions to fulfill those priorities. Your actions go into each year. Make sense? What I found was, well, let me ask you a question. When you go to a steakhouse and you order the porterhouse, when it comes out, why don't you jam a fork in it and take the whole steak and take it down the pie hole in one bite? You're going to choke to death, right? Same scenario here. We're going to break it up into smaller baby steps to get the priorities fulfilled that we need to absolutely get done. See, if you're working on an annual basis, a 12-month calendar, you keep shoving things back, right? Shoving things back, shoving things back. I got time. Year's not up yet. Shoving things back, shoving things back. Before you know it, budget process is here. Oh gosh, I lost an A and I didn't prepare. I don't know who my next hire is. But that's not going to happen in this room, right? Shoving things back, shoving things back. Oh my gosh, now we're into Thanksgiving. Christmas is on the way. Oh my gosh, shoving things back. I didn't finish my list. That's not the case here. You have 4 years to get everything done in 1 year. Make sense? That's about as, I'd really suggest that you dig into this because it was a real eye-opener for me to understand this. Doing so, by the way, creates that kind of end-of-year focus and clarity that you have every year when you're trying to close the year. You have that 4 times a year. Much, much, much more productive. Here's another little bit of research that I stumbled on, the 15 secrets successful people know about time management. Kevin Cruz. Here's the biggest thing you take away here. Stop creating to-do lists. To-do lists. No, 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 no. John, what do you mean? I got stuff to do. I got to make a list. No. Here's what happens. There is no urgency or priority or importance placed on a to-do list. If you're like me, man, I love to cross it off. I just want the satisfaction of crossing off. Go to the bathroom. Oh, I went to the bathroom. Tie your shoes. Oh, tied my shoes. Whatever I can put on that list, I want to look at the end of the day and see a bunch of lines crossed off. And then what do? We carry over the leftovers. And more often than not, the leftovers are the things that are most important that we didn't get to because we were doing all the stuff that didn't matter, just to satisfy our crossing off the list. I see a lot of heads doing this. You're like me, right? Well, here's the reality. 41% of the to-do list never gets done. So really, I don't even call it a to-do list. I call it a not to-do list. And unfortunately, on your not to-do list is the most important stuff. No, no, no on the to-do list. You need more? Billionaires do not use to-do lists. The most successful people in the world do not use to-do lists. You think these guys walk down the hallway going, okay, let's see. New cups for the plane. That's going to be a priority A1C. I need to get the new computer software guys moving. That's going to be a B1, B4. Really? Don't make it so difficult. Drop the to-do list. Kevin Cruz in the book says he saw over 200 of the most successful folks in the world. Not a one mentioned or maintained a to-do list. So you're looking at me going, okay, that's great. What do I just walk around and try to remember what I have to do? Look, I'm a C student. I couldn't remember to, well, tie my shoes, right? Take a look. It's a calendar. It's a calendar. It's a little bit of personal accountability. And I mean calendar everything. Now you're going to say, but John, things pop up. Don't be crazy. You got to flex with it. You got to get in your comfort zone, right? On my personal calendar, I'm obsessive compulsive, admittedly. I like color coding. So I know by when I look at the color, Sue, when she's looking at my calendar, she knows what I have going on, right? And I throw everything to the calendar. So when we've had conversations here and somebody's saying, I'd really like to have a conversation or a phone call on that, normally that would go to a to-do list, right? And it doesn't get done. No, I immediately go to the calendar and say, tell you what, I'm going to call you at 2 o'clock on the 13th. And it's here. And then the little thing pops up and says, hey, you got to do this. If I want to send a courtesy email or I want to send whatever, the whole to-do list, the entire list, work on my book, time gets scheduled for that. Goes to the calendar. So you never, ever lose anything. Don't confuse this with lists, period. You still have your Christmas list. You still have your grocery list. You still have your goals list, right? But these tasks need to tie into the things that you're throwing on the calendar in the 12-week year, which satisfy those very few priorities that you have established. Those things that if you only concentrate on those, nothing else matters and you're going to be successful. See the stair step? See how that works? Try that. Try that for me for just a couple of weeks. And I just want to clear this up a little bit because I can see it in some of the eyes. I'm not saying put all your appointments and your calls on here. I'm saying put everything on here. If there's a whale that you want to work on with an account executive, a whale account, let's put that on there. Jim said to you yesterday, pull out your phone and schedule some recruiting time. I would venture to say 99% of us in this room would put, I need to recruit on your to-do list when you leave here. And it's going to go to the 41% of not to-do list. Recruiting time 1 hour on Tuesdays at this time. I promise you that this was the biggest blow up for me. Like, oh my gosh. Now suddenly I have control of my time. Gee, John, what about the AE interruptions? You leave space for that. Or, try this. It's crazy, I know. Hey, you got a minute? It's never a minute. Tell you what, Steve, I don't have a minute right now, but I have a minute at 2 o'clock. Now, when you say that, it's like nuts. It's like a boomerang. They come back at 2 o'clock. And you're in control of your time. You're in control of your time. You don't believe me? I'll give you one more reason. Stress You're creating stress. You're negatively impacting your health. Stop it. You familiar with the Zieglernick effect? I'll say by the faces, no, it's a psychological term where you suffer mentally because you keep thinking about the unfinished business that you left. So your intent when you add things to the list is, I'm going to address this, I'm going to take care of it. But yet, through the course of the day, you're welling up going, I just can't get to everything. And then at night, you're doing what? You're losing sleep because I just can't get to everything. Stop it. Stop the to-do list, move it to the calendar. Let's talk very briefly about email. Pavlov's dog, ding! You know, the AE, let me be honest. Look, when the AE comes in, the most important thing in the world to them at that point in time is what? That's right. Give me your attention. And they're going, you know, and then I was in a car wreck and I hit that dog and the client said, I don't want to, ding! And you're looking at email. Stop it. Turn the thing off. You don't need to look at every single email. You don't. It doesn't need to be addressed at that point in time. Furthermore, in terms of time management, if you're in the middle of, let's say, doing an Excel spreadsheet for budget, we don't have those, do we? Right? You hear the ding, you move away from the Excel spreadsheet, a numbers entry, to a thought process. You're whopper-jawed in the brain, so you got to straighten that out. Then you read that, and you come back to the numbers, and now you got to get your head straight. Research varies from 17 minutes to 27, half hour, to get back in the zone. You do that all day, you're screwing yourself up, right? How about you bury your copies? So when you're copied on an email, it should get shuttled into a file folder. Now you can toggle it in case it's your boss or it's corporate or whoever to see the ones you want to see. But can we agree 99% of all copies are just CYAs? They're covering their butt. So you move them into a file. When you get time, you're waiting on a client, you travel, you whatever, and I promise you, you do the calendar trick, you're going to have more time. Then you open up the file and you look at the important CCs. Twice a day. Twice a day, check your email. Oh my gosh, John, what? Twice a day? You know, you're in such a world now where you walk in the door and immediately you're chained to the computer doing email. That is not the highest priority. For most of us, the most creative we are, it's in the morning, right, when we walk in, right? But yet, we waste all our creativity looking at CYAs and answering email and deleting the Pottery Barn ads that are coming through our email. That makes no sense to me. And then on a personal level, I was really struggling with this. I really went through and started looking at my life. Life on the road, life as running a business, and life of trying to be the best that I can for everybody when it comes to you, when it comes to family, when it comes to me as an individual. And one of the things I was doing, well, let's see if you can relate. Remember long before electronics, you'd have a book at night, you lie in bed reading the book, help you sleep, help you pass out, get a good night's sleep, right? Then these tablets, these electronic things came along. And so maybe you read a little bit there. Then it advanced to things like I had to check on, geez, where are the Kardashians today? What does my Facebook look like? And inevitably, right before you pass off to sleep, you do what? You check email. And it was one night, this has been a couple years ago, lying there in my boxer shorts, sorry for the visual, but you get it, right? I'm looking at my tablet, the email, and my heart and my anxiety, my rate just increases because here's an email that's going to need some work. And as I'm going back and forth to the guy on the West Coast at the email, I'm thinking, what am I doing? I go to bed 3 in the morning, 4 in the morning, and what's on my mind? It's sitting on my mind like that whole porterhouse I shoved down my throat on my belly, right? It's all in my mind, this email that I can have no control over because the business day doesn't start until the next day. I can't get up and go there. I'm not going to address it then. So I did a little something. I committed myself at that point in time to stop checking email right before I went to bed. Even though the pad is right there, I'm not going to do it. And you know what happened? I slept better. Now here's the crazy thing. Blew my mind. I didn't check email that first day, or that first night when I went to bed. I woke up the next morning. I'm not kidding you. I'm not lying about this. You guys try this. I woke up, and those same emails that came the night before were in my email box in the morning. I was like, oh my gosh, I never knew this. It was such a revelation for me. I mean, what can you really address at night anyway? Forget it. Leave it behind. We don't live to work. We work to live, right? Unfortunately, we're meshing the two. Do yourself that favor. All right, quick bonus on the wrap here, and we'll bring Jim up. How to find your next sales manager and save time doing it. Oh my gosh, John, are you saying somebody to take my job? Absolutely 100% I am. That's exactly what I'm telling you. On the assumption that you're getting elevated. Ah, now I'm listening, right? Here's the deal. You got to give up control. Ooh, I can't give up control. Yes, you need to give up control, your directors especially. You need to create specialists on the staff. We touched briefly on that yesterday. You need to give up your sales meetings. You need to give up your training meetings. Here's what I mean by that. You have specialists on the staff. You have digital, news, sports, promo events, training, whatever it is. These specialists are responsible for everything that relates to the category. Make sure it's in it. If someone's a big sports fan on your staff, obviously there's a sports specialist. And the sports specialist at that point in every single sales meeting is responsible for updating the staff on the current state of sports on your stations. Here's what the sales are. Here's how many packages we have remaining for, or avails we have remaining for the Super Bowl. Here's where we are to our budget on sports. Oh, I've done a revision to the sales piece. It's all on them, and then they update you. Beautiful, right? What you're doing is beginning to groom. You're beginning to build a bench. You're beginning to see these folks who are going to blossom and stretch out and become leaders. And you're going to be able to identify a sales manager to replace you when your boss says, I'm thinking about moving you up. What is your plan for your replacement? Gee, I don't have anybody. No. I got 3 people ready to roll. 3 people. I've tested them. I've watched them. They've grown, right? So a typical sales meeting, if you have specialists, is going to look something like this. By the way, if your promotions and production folks aren't at your sales meeting, they should be. So they're speaking the same language, right? You've got everybody as a specialist. You can see exactly what they handle. Here are the updates. These are all AEs chiming in, even the sales assistant. As we said yesterday, every sales meeting ends with great news. Doesn't matter if it's business or family related, okay? Oh, okay, I'll hold for pictures. Yes? Good. All right, sales meetings. Give up control. John, I can't give up sales meetings. You know how important those sales meetings are to the station? I got it. You're going to set parameters. This is a 6-month list for a sales meeting. So this goes out 6 months in advance. Read the sentence on please prep your agenda for me. So you're setting parameters, right? You'll notice here that Shannon is the sales manager, but Shannon is only hosting 2 meetings. The whole staff understands what the agenda looks like. Each individual, from sales assistant all the way up to AEs, everybody takes a turn, right? They know what the agenda looks like. They know where the parameters are, and you're going to be in the sales meeting. You just aren't going to lead it. It gives them a chance to do something a little different. Training meetings, the same thing. John, definitely I can't give up training. Yes, you can. Here's what it looks like. You're telling them it's a 45-minute meeting, and oh, by the way, Mike, you're going to have a client guest speaker come in January. Melanie, you're going to do role playing. We're going to do Doyle on Demand 1 month. See, you've set the parameters. And then where it's blank, it's a wild card. And those are the best meetings. Some of the absolute best training meetings are going to come from the folks on your teams because they have such varied backgrounds, and it gives them a chance to shine. So, by the time that you've completed all of this, you've begun to identify the next leaders, which again makes it an opportunity for you to move forward. And the very last thing I'll say to you is if you don't have an intern program, get on it. Get on it. We'd run a couple dozen interns through the station through sales. Each account executive was allowed to have their own intern as though their own assistant, which freed up their time, which freed up your time. The interns were available to do all the paperwork, go on calls with the account executives. The manager had the last say in who the intern hire was. But then every single AE had an intern, and they would submit the paperwork to the college, and then we would hire based upon those interns and move them from station to station. It really snowballs and does itself. So, in the interest of time, I am 2 minutes over. Thank you for questions. You know where to find me.